Namaste, this is my first live, and I wanted to make a short video on some of the topics that I've actually discussed yesterday as well as over the last few days on Agnipat, on the Agnipat channel, where I've been talking with Raja Munib and several others, hosted by Mahesh, of course. But I'm seeing that there is a lot of propaganda. Some of it is actually of Pakistani origin, ISPR, and a lot of unwitting Indians are falling into the trap because you've come into the geopolitical space probably some time ago. It's been more exciting since 2020, but the thing is, we must exercise caution when falling into these traps. So I'll list out a couple of ideas that are being propagated. It may be out of Pakistan. Some of these are out of Pakistan and, through their diaspora handles as well. But some of it is just ignorance that is causing this. So the first one is an internationalization by bringing China in. This was something that even Indian anchors, Vikram Chandra, I think it may be Vishnu Som as well, but at least Vikram Chandra has also hinted at this. And it's not, I'm not assuming malice here. It's just we have this habit of over analyzing something, and because we are in the geopolitical space and everything is so exciting and internationalized at this point that we sometimes play into the hands of the enemy. So in this case, people are saying that this terrorist attack was prompted by China to hamper India's emergence into the global supply chain and hamper that. There is absolutely no proof of that. It is something, the full blame of this attack is something that must be laid at the feet of Pakistan, because a week ago, perhaps just a few days before Pahalgam, Asim Munir clearly exhorted every common Pakistani to remember their anti-Hindu antecedents and why the kafir is someone that should be harmed. And then we have the Pahalgam attack. Now, there is literally no reason that China should be brought into the mix, because what this does is it gets other parties involved. And a very similar one is that the US is cheering on for India. And this is something that I've seen Pakistani diaspora handles attempt. So what they want to say is that this is a proxy war, and the US wants India to fight China and wants India to get involved and go into war, which is why this attack was perpetrated, to give India full license to go against China's client state. There is absolutely no truth to this. This is a Pakistan perpetrated attack, and India will take action against Pakistan. So, and the funny part is, this is one side, and the other side of the propaganda says that Trump in fact supports Pakistan, because I think yesterday it was that a mic was held up to Trump and he was asked about the situation, and Trump said that India and Pakistan have been going at it for centuries, 1500 years, and now everyone's making fun of the fact that he said 1500 years. That the point is that he meant civilizationally, that Hindus have been under attack against the Islamist ideology since centuries. And that is exactly what Prime Minister Modi had told him during Trump's first term, that he did not want mediation. He wanted, he was quite capable of handling it himself. And that's what Trump repeated. And instead, it's being used by Pakistani channels to say that Trump is actually supporting Pakistan because he says he will not get involved. Now, Trump's administration has been clearly non-interventionist on the international front. Tulsi Gabbard has been famously so since before she took up the post of the DNI, Director of National Intelligence. Since before, she's been part of the Trump administration, when she was in the Democrat establishment, even then she called out American interventionist policies because she's not in favor of military intervention across the world. And that reflects a lot of Trump's general worldview, that he wants to make America great again without it interfering in foreign affairs, unless it were to the absolute benefit of the US. Now, because the US is a major player, there's a lot of propaganda around them, but using this horrific massacre in Pahalgam as the sort of point of origin of these propaganda points is very, very disgusting. But I know that many of you participating in these things is probably, doing it out of good intentions. But I do want to make it clear that these are going to be used by Pakistan. So the first, I'm just going to reiterate before I move on. The first one is that it's a Chinese thing. No, it is a Pakistani affair. Unless any such thing is proven, do not fall into the trap. No Indian government entity has said this. Nothing has been said. So this is a Pakistani point to sort of internationalize the affair. Second is that the US is cheering for India to drag it into a war against China. Again, this is essentially putting the blame at China's doorstep. Third, that America is in fact cheering Pakistan on. You can see how contradictory both of these are, but it is the nature of the internet to be used for misinformation. And another fourth one is the proxy war scenario, which essentially is the third point itself, that it's the second point where, US forces India to fight Pakistan and then China. None of that is true. So proxy war. The most harmful one in this scenario, and this is something that has gained very quick approval amongst the Instagram audience, is that, I agree, Krishna, it will not do so directly, and India has already spoken with even Qatari and Chinese representatives to, leave India be. And this is the first live I'm ever doing, so I thought this was extremely urgent, which is why, I'm putting my thoughts out there. The fourth one, which is the most disgusting one, I think, is to call it a false flag attack. There have been many, and I will say that the first few that said this were inadvertent. They started asking, these were Indian Hindus who were very deeply shaken by the attack, and they went on to the most easily blamable entity. Where was security? Now, in my last video, I have already stated that you have no idea about how security forces in Kashmiri terrain work. You don't know that they cannot go into a fenced-off region because that any terrorist can go in there because they are agile. They are not functioning according to certain aspects. They can kill and they can shoot and run. Any security forces will be ambushed in a closed space like that. And moreover, the people there, the locals, would not want security because at a tourist spot, they would, bring down the tourism. They would hamper tourism. They would hamper money making. So I think it's extremely important that you know that, yes, Suman, they did meet, and Hamas has met with Pakistani leaders as well. So, so yes, the false flag attack, I think, is the most insidious one of all, where you're essentially blaming Indian security forces and intel agencies and the Indian government. Because look, you can keep saying, oh, my roads are unmade, my taxes go in for nothing. You have no idea. You have no idea how the government functions. You have no idea of the priorities that take place. So it is inadvertent initially, and then it is being misused by many international sources. It has become part of ISPR propaganda. It has become the basis for many international Anglo-European networks who are insidiously propagating this. that and what this does, it's very clear if you've read anything about the October 7 attacks by Hamas on Israel, you can see that it's a copy paste of that playbook. And it's very dangerous because if you see, the situations are very different. It's not like India has ever funded the Lashkar-e-Taiba. And we have been having terrorist attacks for decades. We've just gotten unused to them over the last 20, because after 2008, 26/11, this was one of the first major attacks. And this was very clearly targeted towards Hindus. We know that the reason for Pakistani existence is stated as being against the Hindu land of India. They were asked their religion, shot point blank when they were found to be uncircumcised and could not recite the Kalma. So that being the reason, you can see why stating such a thing, that this was a false flag attack, when, you know, 2 Pakistani terrorists were out of those people identified, and 2 of them were Kashmiri Muslims with, who did not like the Indian state and wanted to act against them. And they came with local Kashmiri Muslim support and assistance. So it is very, very dangerous to play into the hands of the enemy by calling it a false flag attack, or even blaming the Indian government or security forces at this time. And there's this whole idea of free speech. Can't we question? Of course you can. No one's putting you in jail for it. And I think that's dangerous. Essentially, you want to commit treason without consequences. And the Indian state allows for it. I think our security apparatus, in terms of, speech and all of that, is completely unserious. It's very, democracy exists within the framework of a nation state. Without a nation state exists on the basis of national security and the security of the borders around it. Tomorrow, if we become a monarchy by any reason, for any reason, we become an autocracy, an actual autocracy, unlike the ones that are, where the West says that a democracy is an electoral autocracy, we can become anything. That does not mean that the nation ceases to exist, right? That is a nation. Nation comes before anything else. Let me look at the comments. It's why I'm looking towards the side. Yes, Prathamesh. Why would that be shocking? You know that Inter-Services Public Relations actually has it's a completely separate department that is there to monitor all of this. Bloggers, atheists, Christians, anyone raising an issue with the Pakistani state is actually hounded. You don't even have to do anything, just make their names public. So and Pakistani state propaganda is very well coordinated, because it's not just ISPR. I'm not sure how well it functions, but once they have a narrative, they have the Qatari lobby, which is rich. They have the Chinese lobby, which is also used to be pretty well developed. Anyone can, amplify their voice. And India is very insecure on that front. I would say there are Indian lobbies, but many of them go in for deals, defense deals, technology deals, and all of that. It's important. It's extremely important. And I will say economic stability, economic security, economic growth is actually harder power than the softer power of narrative. That does not mean that narrative is not extremely important and that India should not work upon it. So I've listed the 4 points that I actually wanted to make. The first, just be very careful about the propaganda. Obviously, this is live, so I can't edit it, but I will put it down on the description below, all of the talking points, that don't fall into these propagandic roundabouts, that this is a proxy war, this is a false flag attack. And if you see someone doing it, I'm telling you, if you see someone doing it, correct them immediately, counter them. And Raja Muni mentioned on my chat yesterday as well, the one that Prathamesh was talking about, that if India gets into a war and defeats Pakistan, solidly, which it will, not in a full-fledged war, of course, but what happens is that the idea that China is provoking India into a war. The counter is that any country after war, any successful country after war, actually becomes better at technology and economic growth and everything else after the war. So if India wins anyway, it will get better. So it's not like China's looking forward to that either, right? That's a counter. Use it. Use information from whatever sources you get, but actually act upon them. Don't just consume information, keep it to yourself. If you see someone, because there's a lot of WhatsApp messages, I have some of them saying, what was the government doing? Why were there not no security forces? Have you been to the place? Do you think that every mile there's going to be security personnel? Do you think that the locals are going to be comfortable with it? Why do you think that it is so difficult to handle Kashmir as a territory? Rahul, yeah, I mean, you're right about that. I think, and this was something we discussed 2 days ago, it was very ill-timed. मतलब क्या सोच कर किया as you know, I mean, the global condition is such that India has established itself very solidly, the kind of relationships that it has built with all of the Arab nations, all of the Muslim nations, honestly, except it's not just the Arab ones, even the African ones, except for Somalia and Turkey. No one stands with Pakistan at this time. So it's a bit of a joke that they decided to do it now. And the thing is that they've gotten away with it so many times, even 2611. And it hurts me to remember that because I was so much, I was an adult, almost an adult at that time. I think I was an adult at that. I was an adult at that time. So, it's in living memory. It's very, very deeply imprinted in living memory. And we did nothing. So that's probably the expectation. And now that things are not going according to that expectation, because now that they've done it and trapped themselves into it, now the propaganda channels are out in full force to internationalize this event in order to draw sympathy from several different sources. And the thing with the Anglo world, with the Western world, is that it is divided. Look, they do have the sympathies of the United Kingdom, even if unsaid. But what can they do? They can't do much. Canada cannot do much. The point is that their media will be read by many more people. The Indian media is also playing into their hands. It upsets me deeply to see how pathetic, how soulless, how conscienceless they function. The way that they function is absolutely detrimental to national security, and self-regulation has been completely unhelpful. It does not exist, because if they were to be regulated, why would they do it in the first place? Like, I don't see, if self-regulation feels paradoxical. It would require a very conscious entity to be self-regulating. And even as individuals, we are so unconscious and run on autopilot so many times. And when when the Indian media has the autopilot that they automatically support an anti-Indian stance, I don't know what self-regulation is supposed to do. So I'm just going to look at the comment. Some of the local mentality, yeah, I mean, what can you do? Kashmir has a mentality that is anti-India. And yes, Carla, I agree that the Pakistani situation is not covered, but it was very impressive to see an official White House handle actually correct the New York Times byline headline and cut out gunmen or militants or something like that for terrorists. They called it a terrorist attack, which is a big deal. And I wrote about this. I will try and add the link below. I've not done a live, so I don't know what I think I'll just modify the description to include that link. But read about how Western media, and I wrote this many years ago, how they have constantly used words like rebel, militants to cover up for terrorism. Forget Islamic terrorism, they cannot call it terrorism. So we need to be very aware of how things are framed. And if you can create any sort of visibility around these issues, please do so. Use this video, spread it, clip it, do whatever you want with this video, and make sure that those talking points of those, China is involved. It was China's fear of India replacing them as a supply chain that was causing this. Oh, the US wants India to come in and beat China at their game. They're using Pakistan to do it. Oh, the US is actually cheering for Pakistan right now. Oh, this is a false flag attack by India on Indian territory. Please counter these propaganda points wherever you see them. I know some of you are active on Twitter and X and follow me from there. So do counter these information, whether they're international handles, whether the Pakistani ones, Chinese ones, whatever it is. Actually, the Chinese propaganda channels haven't started functioning on those lines at all yet. So check this out. I kind of thought this was very urgent because I'm seeing, Vikram Chandra Vishnu Som, these are big names, and you add in a few major Indian YouTubers, and the worst is Instagram. I think Instagram is a cesspool. I might have to make a separate video about it, but Instagram is a horrible medium. So everyone follows one single journalist, Veda Souza, who's not a journalist, honestly, just someone who muddies the water so you can't see clearly at all. Nitin, Indian think tanks, which are right-leaning. Look, Nitin, I think that I can add these to the banner. Give me a chance to maybe show these. Yeah. Can some of our Indian think tanks, scholars go to US? They have to be invited, right? And frankly, the people who are famous are not, I don't know, maybe they're too busy to know all these micro narratives that are coming up quickly. They aren't very good at preempting these things. They do get called. I feel like someone more analytical in terms of geopolitics should be part of those narrative wars. I will tell you one secret that I'm really proud of. I know likes are private on Twitter, but Naval Ravikant, the actual Naval Ravikant, liked one of my replies where I mentioned that the terrorist attack had a stated reason, and the reason was that the people killed were not Muslim, that they were Hindu. They were killed for being Hindu, and that's something that Naval Ravikant liked. So I'm actually very excited about it. I'm not sure if making it public is a good idea, but anyway. Let's look at what you're saying, Rahul. I think Pak politicians want the army to I don't think that they are that uncoordinated. What Khwaja Asif said, to Yalda Hakim about Pakistan doing whatever it does for the sake of the US is incorrect. The US has inadvertently funded Pakistan. Sure, they meant to fund them against terrorists, but essentially helped them create Taliban. But way before that, Pakistan has conducted several terrorist attacks even before Soviet involvement against India. So he's lying. He's flat out lying. And this essentially plays to the points that I mentioned, the propaganda points that I mentioned, that they want the US to be involved. They think that they can somehow hold India back the same way that the Democrat establishment has done so far. And then they have crazy numbers educating their masses. That's indoctrination. Why don't you get involved? Don't just sit there. I think we need to get involved. If you see something, then say something. I'm just going to go because I'm just discovering these things. China won't, yeah, they won't be stupid enough to support Pakistan. Yunus met with elite commander. Yes, ISI people have been seen talking to the Jamaat Islami supporters there as well. Uh, they will always do that. I think they're just already engaged, and Indians need to do this as well. Namaste, Angadji. Thank you for watching and joining. Uh, you know what, Simon? We need to use this crisis. I think that twists things in the way of propaganda. I know you don't mean it like that, but this is exactly what they mean when they say a false flag attack. That's what was said during October 7th, that October 7th gives the Israelis complete leeway to go into Gaza and the West Bank and clean out Hamas. And that is the same playbook that is being used here. This is exactly what I'm cautioning against. Don't use these words. Say that this shows how terrible our internal security is. It reflects upon, how lazy some of the bureaucratic institutions have been. Like, imagine right after this, you find all the weapons, you find RTX, you find so many illegals, you find people married to Pakistanis. Did you not know that? How do you find them suddenly 2 days into the cleanup, right? So don't use these words. You cannot use a crisis. You can't milk a crisis. That's deeply demeaning to the people who have lost their lives in the attack. Okay, I know you don't mean it like that, but I'm just cautioning you as to how it will be seen. Yes, I've addressed this. Sorry, I didn't know how to show it at that point. Yeah, I mean, I've not made a live Prathmesh. It's not that you're catching a live. I haven't done this on my channel ever. This is the only live that exists. Ji Shrutiji, it is very insidious. I think it's very scary that so many Indians are falling for it, they're rejoicing in it, but more that the Pakistani diaspora is participating. But I'll tell you where I see it. It's not on Twitter. If any of you are active on Instagram, cultivate subtle messaging. Make memes about how, blame kar diya on the security forces, but you will not blame the perpetrators. You will not blame the ideology that motivates the perpetrators. False flag is just essentially diluting the actual cause. That's what it is functioning as. Hamas, yes, we discussed this, and Pakistan. What am I supposed to think? It's been an open secret, right? Pakistani and Bangladeshi illegals have been in India since ages. We don't have a system which allows us to call in and report suspicious individuals, at least. Or if you know anyone, put it in a chat, even if it's after the live, just put it there. I'll add it to my description box. But, we see them, so many of them. If you were to go into Kolkata, I was there for a visa issue some months ago. I was shocked. Perhaps the Bangladeshi, but they all spoke in Urdu with me when I'm speaking in Bangla to them. So everyone knows that they exist unless you're like literally closing your eyes and walking around. Major cities have lots of Pakistani nationals. I also think that, people married to Pakistanis, men, women, anyone should have their Indian citizenship automatically cancelled. This is no joke. You can't actually marry a Pakistani and hope for neutrality unless the Pakistani changes their citizenship to an Indian one and decides to live in India. Anyone holding a Pakistani citizenship and getting married to an Indian, the Indian should give up their citizenship. One of them should. You can't have it play both sides. It's an elimination. Surya, I will ask him. He's busy, and he said what he has to say on X as well. I think at this point, intelligence folks are more important, which is why I'm doing the lives on Agnipath. But Surya has always been at the forefront of saying that India loses the narrative war. Vikram Sood sir, who is former head of Indian R&AW, has written books about it. He's been on my channel. I've been on Bharat Varta interviewing him. We've spoken in private so many times. He's written so many columns talking about it. We don't have a narrative division yet. Perhaps it will happen. Every attack like this just proves how, but it's not like, this is not the sole situation. I will say that having Murshidabad happen at the same time, having Bangladesh happen, just highlights how pathetic the Indian narrative function is. We just don't have one. We're not willing to put in money. And I'll tell you that they have this return on investment thing, which is a very deal-like mentality. It's sort of the short-term Trump action-taking plan, that what is my return on investment as soon as I invest in narrative? Would I get, what returns do I get? What returns does patriotism need, nationalism need, honestly? Black Boss, no, I do not do lives often. This is my first live. Sushant, Pakistani nationalists are in UP and Hyderabad. I don't think they're just them. I think we should look at all of them everywhere. Interesting 4 points, yes. Do add community notes where you see these propaganda points. Just say there is no proof of this and quote X handles. Again, just for those who are joining in now, I will repeat those points. First is, I don't know the author. Okay, I've done the author several times now, and now I'm forgetting. One is that China is involved in the attacks. Second is that the US the US is cheering for India so that there's a backlash against China and using Pakistan as a proxy war thing. Third is that America is actually cheering for Pakistan. That's delusional. Fourth is that it is a false flag attack. I think this is the worst of all. I see this on several, this whole thing where influencers are saying stuff like, oh, I condemn them and I am asking questions of our security and of our government that allowed this to happen. The government has stopped hundreds of such attacks on an everyday basis. There is intelligence about hundreds of these attacks. All of you who are younger, who have not seen the decades prior to 2014, have not lived through attacks happening, the major attacks happening every few months. Hyderabad, Guwahati, Mumbai, everything happening every few months. We literally went with our hearts in our hands, lived through those times. Just because we've gotten comfortably, have no idea how it was. Now the intelligence agencies focus on stopping so many of them. And intelligence works in a certain way. There's no one's writing this to you and telling you, this is how it goes. We have human intelligence that will always be crucial. Obviously, the human intelligence capacity for Indian intelligence services is going to be lower in a demographically sensitive area such as in Kashmir. So it's not an excuse. It's literally how it functions. So if you don't know how it works, don't fall into these traps. Stop people, stop the Aam Janata from asking questions like, oh, what's the guy? Ask the terrorists why they killed people for being Hindu. They literally crossed over to the Indian border to ask people their religion, strip them in front of their families and shoot them dead. So don't blame anyone other than the perpetrators who did this. There is no bigger game here. There's nothing like that. Stick to the point, make yourselves and keep yourselves angry about this. I don't know what is wrong with people, why everyone's supposed to overanalyze everything and go back into the comfort of overthinking. Thinking is actually a privilege. If you were in a war situation right now, you would not have the capacity, the actual comfort to be able to think yourselves into oblivion. So don't allow yourselves to fall into the trap. Don't allow anyone else to do that either. We will get good PR depending upon the success. See, we are getting good PR from Israeli sources, Russia somewhat, but Israel, not just Israel, like literally organically, Jews have gathered, Jews from all sides of the spectrum, the American left, the American right, they've gathered. And for the first time, because of their support bases, other people are questioning the existence of Pakistan. Like, why does it exist? And I'm writing an article about the imaginary second states being brought into a reality when it comes to Kosovo, when it comes to Bosnia, when it comes to Palestine, Pakistan. The idea of the Islamic State has always been a strategic geopolitical maneuver and using Islam as its wartime ideology. So, yeah, I think it needs more though. It's not just about military success or, when India uh, trespasses, not trespasses, but India essentially holds Indus Water Treaty, suspends it, and then floods Pakistan, does not give them water data, then we will have military strikes. I'm almost certain that we will have them. So, yeah, that will give us some success, but I think it needs to be much more coordinated. Narrative is not something that we should be taking for granted at all. So, I went to Pahalgam when I was a kid. I also went there actually when I was a kid. Oh, I am so sorry. I think that was the time when stone pelting was considered unserious. Even the people were being killed. The Indian armed forces were actually called to account for trying to stop them using whatever non-lethal methods, by the way. So yeah. The locals do have really bad mentality. In the US, the mainstream will not cover it. Actually, when they do cover it, I don't know if you've seen the BBC headline. I know that's not the US, but if you see the BBC headline, it actually attempts to say that India has attacked Pakistan and Pakistan has cancelled Indian visas. That's literally how they framed it. None of the words are actually wrong. It's how they framed it that makes the reader see it in a certain light. So many Gaza. I mean, they've always said free everything, right? Free from what, man? Like, our indigenous weapon system gets war tested. Agniveers get war tested as well. We are already exporting them to Philippines, probably to other nations in Southeast Asia. Locals are happy. Yes, look, that is a problem. But I will say that there is definitely some change on the ground. It's being pushed by the government. I'm not saying it's organic, but what I'm saying is that once you taste comfort, you might just convert to a different perspective. Some of them might. And I think that not everyone, they held on to this identity of being Kashmiri. Some of them actually call themselves Kashmiri, independent of Pakistani Kashmiri. So many of them did not, but some of them actually feel like when they see the state of Pakistan, the ritual humiliation it faces on every platform, they don't want to be associated with it. And because it harms their livelihood, such things harm their livelihood, some of them are actually trying to cozy up to the Indian state and whatever it provides. So I don't actually speak with an American accent, but cool. Use GOP foreign account. Yes, GOP foreign account did correct it. I know, I mentioned it earlier. मैडम जी प्रणाम, आपका विचार शिमला अग्रीमेंट पे क्या है, जैसे कि क्या वो हमको फायदा करेगा? देखिए, अगर कोई रुकिए मैं इसको स्क्रीन पर ही रखती हूँ. If there is any military action, when push comes to shove, none of these agreements matter. After all, Minsk agreement was a thing. People go back on these things whenever they want. India refuses to do it for the most part. Pakistan says we don't want an LOC, that's on them. I mean, they should return the 93,000 prisoners of war that India gave to them as well, no? But it means nothing, honestly. कोई फायदा नहीं होगा, कोई कुछ नहीं होगा, कोई मतलब हमको कोई असुविधा भी नहीं होगी. It is meaningless. It's like Pakistan saying, चलो हम gravity suspend कर रहे, gravity के laws, we are suspending the laws of motion and all of that. It means nothing. Look, Times of India, the Hindustan Times have all been coordinated and disappointing and soulless vultures in that depiction. They are disgusting. I don't know how low they can go. I don't want to find out. But I will not be spared, I know. Why doesn't GOI take global perception? Yeah, you know what? I don't think it's true that they don't take perception seriously. There is a reason that when the prime minister goes to the US, he actually decides to talk to rabid, Islamophilic, Hindu-phobic Fareed Zakaria for CNN. He's much better than Mehdi Hassan, certainly. But he has been constantly anti-India, anti-Hindu, anti-BJP, and this is the person that the prime minister speaks with. He also spoke with Lex Friedman. He is not going to be baited into, going and speaking with all of your current toppers and others anymore. He speaks when he has to speak and when he has something to say. And I don't think that they're not invested. I think they're wrongly invested. If you keep going to the enemy and hoping that they somehow change their minds. I really appreciated the podcast with Lex Friedman, and he has a very large international base. And it helped. If you see the kind of Twitter threads that came up after it that brought India into focus, these things take time, battling an ecosystem with decades of experience. My thing is that we are hampered by the enemies within. Yeah, Germany, if someone is saying something, we have less control over it. Do we have that little control over Indian handles and Indian news media? Why the hell is ANI? Why is PTI? They're going and shoving mics up faces of people involved in business in Pakistan and, married to Pakistan. Why are we giving coverage to that? Oh, medical visas are cancelled. Medical visas should not have existed. Do they not have other, Muslim nations, Arab nations to go to? Because they go to Hajj for that. They should go for their medical. Because if you go to Pakistan, they beheaded a Hindu boy as soon as he was born. The graphics are terrible. I don't see such things usually. I avoid them, but this was shoved in my face. I don't think that India needs to play better than thou, holier than thou, on levels which involve national security, which involve hostile nations like Pakistan and Bangladesh at this point. So it's not that, it's not as weak as you imagine, especially behind the scenes. People too get updated. It's just at a mass level, we're poor at it. And I wouldn't put the blame on the government. If you look at the US, they have a lot of private entities that help, right? You have the military industrial complex, you have thousands of think tanks that coordinate with universities. I mean, what are you using your humanities and literature degrees for? You can create, literally today I can register a think tank. I can bring out papers. I do my bit. I do a lot of writing. It's very stressful mentally because I have a day job. Y'all don't pay me a single rupee. So I am overstretched. But large private entities need to be involved. And I think everybody is involved in trying and having a cohesive, homogenous narrative, which is detrimental. We need red lines. India is a pluralistic, heterogeneous nation. We should function with, you cannot say Middle East, for example. We need an Indian perspective, so we call it West Asia. If you're talking about caste in a negative sense, you're definitely trying to be Hindu-phobic, Indo-phobic, because that's how it has been used. SB 403 was a bill that was attempted to be brought in the US, right, to attack people of Indian origin. So these things are red lines. They should be understood. It's not that difficult, but it's something that needs to be strategized, and private players need to be much larger parts of this. I hope that anyone watching this does not get random ideas of going up to YouTubers with a large platform, because I find them to be uneducated. I'm not saying that they are malicious. I think they're not adequately educated. Worse, that they are not willing to be educated at this point. And I'm sorry, but that's something I feel like needs to be corrected. They have the potential to be so. But anyway, We did this. You do need to go to their podcast space. You need many more podcasts. Pakistan politicians wants the army to fall against India. Okay. Uh, yeah, he did. I know. Sky gave. Who's this? Oh, Sky News, you mean? Sorry, my brain went to Surya Kumar Yadav, who condemned the killings that his wife did as well. And so, yes. So Yalda Hakim is someone I don't trust. I have, heard her views on many things, and even though she's someone I admire as an anchor, I do, but the views are absolutely Islamophilic, and she's actually given space to Sadhguru as well in terms of spirituality. But as soon as you associate Hinduism, the core of that spirituality, with anything, these people run away. So you don't trust who? Democrats? Yeah, them establishment. No, that is wrong. Actually, that's very wrong. Look, for example, a persecuted community like the Jews, they are everywhere. The Muslims, they are everywhere, and they come with a single voice. The Khalistanis are on both sides of the Canadian political spectrum. Hindus cannot afford, when you're diaspora, you can fight amongst yourselves for political reasons there. But Ro Khanna and Bobby Jindal, I mean, he's converted, I know, but Vivek Ramaswamy should have both come out and said that the horrifically targeted killings of Hindus, the way Tulsi Gabbard said it. And Tulsi Gabbard actually spans both establishments, right? Hawaii actually does not have space for Republicans at all. She was elected Democrat, and she's been in the Democrat establishment for a long time. I think even now she's an independent who's serving the Republican establishment. So we need representation everywhere. So don't close yourselves off to that. Your identity as Hindus is important, and I'll tell you why. You might identify yourselves as American, German, European, Japanese, whatever you want. The point is that wherever you stay, whether Hindu or Muslim, you will be. And Muslim Indians have also been killed in the US in the spate of killings that have happened against Indians. You will always be identified as a race. And this has always been the case from the times of Churchill. I've written about how Hindus are identified as a race. And he was very clear that Muslims are a martial race, they're better looking, all of that. And Hindus are identified as Hindus, regardless of your citizenship. So the Hindus are the ones identified as Indians. And you need to span the entire political spectrum. Shruti ji, thank you very much. You've always been very encouraging, and you and Prathamesh and I think Krishna have been some of the regular viewers. I don't have too many, and it keeps me going to see such encouragement. I hope you also come into the space and do some of this work as well. First, US won't meddle. Yes, it won't. America does. It will only be for Saudi oil deal, and then might make deals for Pak News with a lot of money. None of that is happening right now. Okay, what we have is a free hand. That's all we need. The point of US intervention has always been to cover for Pakistan, and that's something that we don't need. We don't have at this time. That's all. So Trump does not want to see. He has this legacy intention of being. He thinks of himself as a mediator. He mediated the Abrahamic Accords, which has been historic. He is trying to mediate Russia, Ukraine, sort of succeeding at it, because look, you cannot deny US place at the high table, right? As the head of the high table with their military prowess and economic prowess. And thus he had, decided, I can maybe do something between India and Pakistan. And he's in no mood to do that anymore, especially because personal equations matter. Him saying, excuse me, my notebook fell down. So him saying that Modi is a much better negotiator than me is important. He will not intervene in something that is that's an issue that is to be resolved bilaterally. We need to get someone on Lex podcast. Haan bhai, how will you get them there? Annamalai mentioned in talk in Stanford, copious amount of. Look, that's true, but it's not something that we should resign ourselves to. What is stopping it today? You have a phone, you have a computer. Start by writing long form Twitter essays with some analysis. Don't copy paste stuff and don't find things that validate you and just repeat them in different language. Don't do that. Analyze, see where you stand. And look, I'll tell you one example of this. Was talking to an economist who was talking about market monopolies, and turns out that they're actually talking about how the monopoly of halal and kosher in certain markets is going to be studied in that sense without bringing a religious angle to it. What is stopping you from, if you are a health influencer or a health enthusiast, for example, what is stopping you from talking about the high cortisol levels that come from eating halal meat and the high correlation with heart disease? Whether it is, you may not have the space to do lab analysis and find causation, but can you point out a correlation with it? Why don't you write take 3 months, write a 4,000 page thing, publish it wherever. There's many channels. You can ask me as well. You can connect with me at Sagarika_S on Twitter. So you can ask me where you want to publish, but first have that content ready. Just make a podcast. If that is too difficult, make a podcast, but you have to participate. You can't just say that, oh, it has existed. Yeah, man, we've been colonized, so it exists. English is not our language, so anything published in English is going to be anti-Indian for the most part. I did not take any disrespect. You need to make them, not just consume them. Hello, Aryan. Nitin, illegals, many have overstayed visas, some legal immigrants. See, we've cancelled that. Any visas. It's not legally, no visa exists for the first 48 hours. It was the SARC exempt visa that was cancelled, and then we cancelled all Pakistani visas without condition, except for Hindus. Double faced. Look, I don't think they're double faced. I think they're completely anti-national. So that's very dangerous. I am losing my voice. It's been close to an hour. I thought I'll talk for 20 minutes. Thank you for staying on for so long. Pakistani, yeah, they need to change their citizenship, become Indian, and support India. That is something that can be allowed. Look, that's how global law functions. We can't ask Hindu men to go into Pakistan. So I think this time government is preparing for a narrative, or they've prepared for it. It's just harder to do because we are India. Accounts like, yes, but you don't know how much the government is coordinating with them, Prathamesh. Do not repeat this. I will just say don't give space to this at all. You can say this now because Trump is in power. This is rather silly to say. A few months ago, Ilhan Omar was visiting Pakistan-occupied Jammu Kashmir, and Eric Garcetti was dancing for them. I don't think that this is fair at all. Whenever the US has come in, it has a certain establishment in the US, and this does not include republics and Democrats. This includes both of them. This does not exclude, I meant the first time. George Bush was Republican, right? It's not that he wasn't involved in using Islamic states for his own purposes. Palestinian leaving because of Hamas. I don't know what you mean. Jews. Yes, Iranian diaspora, Jews have been very supportive because Indians have supported that. Daniel Bergman, Neo Berg, they are so. Neo is of Iranian origin. She's a Mizrahi from Iran, I think. And Daniel studied this actually some years ago, and thus he has been more educated. World will act according to their need. I've addressed this. I think I've addressed this quite clearly. We do need to take into account national security. Bushra is Pakistani, so she's just plain Pakistani. There's no, I don't see why we need to consider her opinion as valid at all. And thoughts on the current exchange. Small arms weapons fire has happened. That is being returned. Let's see how it pans out. We're not ready for that. I want this to be true so bad. I don't think we're ready for that because our bureaucracy is hollowed out by the education they go through. I've seen people who are deeply nationalistic, who join civil services, who actually even study for civil services, and then become extremely colonized in their mindset, start to view India from an outside lens, from a colonized lens, start talking in those terms, try and understand India as sort of conglomeration instead of civilization from before. And even if they're well-intentioned and nationalist and patriotic, they can't seem to understand and differentiate between what makes a Harvard political scientist like Samuel Huntington, right? Clash of civilization, but an Indian who suffered it argue against it, right? They will go with Francis Fukuyama and the end of times. So all of this news should not be given any airtime at all. I think it's disingenuous to give them any airtime at all. I think it's treasonous. Bharatiya billionaires to step up. Yes, absolutely. Kash Patel has been okay. He's actually directly supported India. He's quoted Modi ji, and let me try and bring it up then. Let's see, Kash Patel. Just a second. He's clearly just said that I support Prime Minister Modi to in his fight against the terrorists. I'm scrolling down my timeline to find it. Man, he posts a lot. Yeah, no, he posts a lot. I can't find it just right now. So give me can you share a link or something? I don't know. Well, anyway, you can go check it out yourselves. Kash has supported Modi ji against Pakistan, and yeah, we need to stop issuing visas for anything, including medical, free hair, free wool. Yes. I don't know what he said, so I don't know what I'm supposed to agree with. CEO, so you know what? Arvind Srinivas of Perplexity has been bullied into issuing a statement. He issued it an hour ago. So we have that. Sundar Pichai, Satya Nadella, deep disappointments. I did not expect very much. Vivek Ramaswamy, yeah, perhaps. Look, I think politicians should be allowed to do politics. He was one of the first people to post, and the fact that he did not mention targeted and all that is something that I did not appreciate, but I understand it. We, like I said, we need people to be political in their home countries as well. Successfully political, not just, ranting and shouting. The point with Sky News was that, of course, he does. The lobby functions, but look, I will also say that if, someone had reached out from the government of India, I'm not sure that they would be denied space. Depends on, why do we need that? Perhaps they would do something on CNN. Like I said, Fareed Zakaria was spoken with some years ago. Saudis and they have been very supportive. The Gulf nations have been very supportive. Balaji. Look, I've seen that analysis, so I do agree with it somewhat. I didn't go into it too much because that's, I'm not someone who likes predicting too much, except in terms of narrative. With regards to defense, I don't claim any, expertise in sort of preempting responses, but I think it's been well appreciated by some people who are experts. Yes, good. Thank you for writing that down in the comments. You need to work on that. Someone, if you're listening, work on research papers about correlation like that. Ming Wu, will in China-India ties, they will not improve. They will remain the same. This has nothing to do with China at this point. Should there tourism in PUJK? Should there be? This is a very dangerous time. I don't think things are going to stabilize until 2026 at the very least. So let's be careful. Thank you for watching, Aryan. Do you see Imran Khan? Yes, I do. Ballytainment, PPT. Okay, yes. Rabi Faisal. Acha, Rabi Faisal. Okay, he will not get water. Back expert. Why are you writing like a Pakistani? This is very difficult to read. Glucose shortage. Is Pakistan prepared? Pakistan is not prepared. Honestly, they don't have resources to be very prepared. Recently, Har Har Mahadev. No, they are not prepared. Airbus be the new Lockheed Martin. Don't know. I don't think so, though. I think Lockheed Martin still has its place. Imran Khan, Pak people, yes, they are, honestly, and I do think that he will be released. I am not a civil service aspirant. I have no qualifications to teach that. Bhai, abhi unke army is getting, yes. Now, thank you so much for joining me. I've finished an hour here. I really did not expect this, and I genuinely did not expect so many comments. Thank you for engaging with me here very much, and maybe I'll do another live. Thanks for encouraging me. Thank you. This is something that is karmic, I guess. I don't see any Indian involvement here. They're just really badly prepared anyway. So, yeah. Like I said, and they do import a lot of things from China. Who knows what the origin of this battery was. So Chinese mal has a bit of a limitation when it comes to quality. So again, thank you so much for joining with me. And tune into my channel sometimes. Share this video if you found value, and see you soon.